right, today we are going to talk about American citizenship. If the unit number and part number on the bottom is a little bit off, don't worry about that. Just note this is Unit 8. And then I believe we should have only had, I believe this might be Part 3. It's either going to be Part 2 or Part 3, but if the part number is off, don't worry too much about that. But today we're just going to focus on citizenship, how one becomes a citizen, what issues there still exist around citizenship, particularly when it comes to illegal immigration. So that's what we're going to be working on today. And now I'm going to make myself appear. Woohoo. Okay, so everybody who is born here is a citizen. These are the citizens by birth. The United States has something that is called jus soli, which means the law of the soil. Due to the 14th Amendment, the interpretation has been that anyone born in this country, regardless of the status of their parents, are legal citizens. In fact, the specific part where we get this, if you see right near where my head is that all persons born in the United States are citizens of the United States and of the state wherein they reside. That comes straight from the 14th Amendment. And so, as part of this, this includes Native Americans who are born on tribal lands, people who are born in American embassies and consulates that we have around the world, any of our American military bases, and in what is American air or sea. So let's say that you are pregnant and you have a child over American airspace, your child has American citizenship. Same thing if you are born within, I believe the law of the sea is like 10 miles from our coasts. If a child is born within that range, then you are an American citizen. You can also be, oh, and I'm going to pull myself away again. You can also be a citizen by blood, which is called jus sanguinis, which means the law of the blood. So you don't necessarily have to be born in this country because obviously, let's say your parents are like on vacation, they are both American citizens and you were born. Do you suddenly lose citizenship? Of course not. This isn't technically in the Constitution, but this is something that was passed down as the law of the land by the Congress. The entire extent of jus sanguinis laws, courtesy of Wikipedia, the free encyclopedia, can be seen up there on the right. Basically, that top one and the most straightforward one is if both of your parents are citizens and they live in the US, congratulations, you're a citizen. Pretty straightforward. If your parents live here and they're citizens, you're a citizen. If one parent is a citizen and another parent is considered a national, which is a technical term given for some people who live in certain US territories, then you're a citizen as long as your parents have lived here for at least a year. Yeah, basically what I have down there on the bottom left is if one parent is a citizen and the other is not, it gets complicated. And to try to make it just a tad simple, basically if you live here or if you're both physically present in the picture, then it's more likely that you're a citizen. If you're not present, if you don't live in this country, the odds greatly decrease. All right. Now, you can also become a citizen, of course, by the third method, and I'm going to make myself reappear as I talk about this. You can also become a citizen by the third method, which is naturalization. And naturalization is just simply the legal process by which you gain citizenship. So immigrants, of which all of us, or almost all of us as American citizens, are immigrants. And even any of us with Native American ancestry, almost all of us have at least part of our ancestry are somewhere immigrants. So we are all either immigrants or we are all descendants of immigrants if we are citizens of this country. To become an immigrant citizen, you must be 18 years or older. You must live in the United States for 5 years. Spouses of citizens can have a reduced requirement of 3 years. You must be literate in English. You must demonstrate good moral behavior, and you have to pass a citizenship test. Where basically you're asked the fundamentals of like American history, like who our founding fathers were. You're asked questions about our Constitution. It's honestly kind of just an overview of this class. If you can pass this class, you can probably pass the citizenship test. That being said, only a little over half of Americans know enough about our government to pass a civics test, which is probably related to why only half of our citizens tend to vote. But anyway. One last thing on that citizenship test I mentioned in the last slide. You are going to take a citizenship test later today to just kind of test out maybe how much you've been learning in my class, but just how much you know about our system of government and whether you would be able to be a citizen. Now, there are methods by which you can lose citizenship. Expatriation is the legal process for losing citizenship. You technically have the right to renounce citizenship, but very few people ever do. Because even though technically, legally, you're not allowed to have dual citizenship, there's no listed penalty. There's basically just a law that says you shall not have dual citizenship. And then when you go to people who violate it, the punishment is not listed. So a lot of people have dual citizenship. Technically, it's against the law. In reality, nobody cares. If you actually renounced your American citizenship, you would have to pay a $2,350 tax because of filing fees. And if you are a sane human being, that sounds a little onerous because that's a lot of money just to renounce your citizenship. And so most people who are Americans would say live in other countries and want to be citizens of those other countries, just hold on to their dual citizenship. Okay, the last major topic we need to discuss when it comes to citizenship is, of course, immigration. Today, the vast majority of immigrants either come from Latin America or they come from Asia, and it just depends on the year. A few years ago, Asia was the #1 source of immigrants, and it switched to Latin America. The two are kind of fighting back and forth. And of course, the big issue isn't really what to do with legal immigrants. Republicans and Democrats are pretty okay with legal immigration. It's more of a matter of what to do with illegal immigrants. There, of course, is the policy of deportation, where you would legally remove aliens from the United States. In particular, at least up until the Trump administration, there was much more of an emphasis on criminals being deported, whereas other illegal aliens who just happened to be here were usually overlooked. However, with the Trump administration, the focus has changed to just any illegal alien is deported. And there, of course, is what's considered to be the other extreme, which is amnesty, or legal forgiveness for a crime. In this case, it would be legal forgiveness for the crime of illegal immigration. Amnesty would put immigrants on a path to full citizenship. Of course, it's highly controversial because it might encourage other people to enter the country illegally and might bring crime with it. And so these two extremes are not the only methods by which we can deal with the problem of illegal immigration, but these are just kind of the two extremes that are sometimes brought up. One legal system that we see, and here I'm going to put myself away again. One legal system that we see is something called the DREAM Act. And similar, here, I'll talk about the DREAM Act first, and then I'll talk about the much more relevant current issue, which is what to do with the DACA recipients. So the DREAM Act, which is some fancy acronym for basically the Children of Illegal Immigrants, basically gives children of illegal immigrants certain legal rights. For example, in the states you see in red, those who are children of illegal immigrants who have lived in their state for about 5 years, show good moral character, meaning they haven't gotten involved in any arrests, they graduate high school or get a GED equivalent, they can get in-state tuition. And you'll notice that the DREAM Act does not fall along political lines, although you might think this might be a conservative liberal issue. There are a number of conservative and liberal states that provide the DREAM Act, again, with kind of the focus being on that since these children, in order for these children to qualify for the DREAM Act, it could not have been their decision to come into the United States, and the United States is pretty much the only country they have ever known. They are kind of viewed as somewhat innocent. And then you can also see that there are states with no laws And then there are some states that do ban in-state tuition or enrollment, which do tend to be more conservative states. Stricter immigration policies do tend to fall along conservative lines, but not always. But just in general, it tends to fall that way. Now, to kind of talk about DACA and where we are with, so if you ever hear someone talk about the Dreamers, they're talking about the children of illegal immigrants. Where DACA would currently stand, and as I am speaking right now, DACA is still in play. DACA basically allows for children of illegal immigrants to be on the path of citizenship as long as they show good moral character and all these things, and basically have a temporary residence in our country while they build themselves up toward a path of citizenship. This is why if DACA were to expire, a lot of people would be get deported, and that would be a major controversy because a lot of these people who are DACA recipients, because they have to be young, they probably lived most of their lives in this country, and this is the country they feel is actually their home. But anyway, that kind of gets to the big issue of the current debate over DACA and who exactly the Dreamers are. All right, let's get to our recap. What do we mean by jus soli? And what is amnesty? Enjoy these funnies today. I find this really amusing, if not a little creepy, but I find them very amusing. This is why I am putting off having children. And finally, for you lovers of Mario Kart out there, all I hear in my mind right now is the song when you get the star power. Anyway, have a good rest of the day. Like I said, you'll be taking that citizenship test now on the Chromebooks, but I will see you later.